So we're recording. There we go. I'd like to
If
welcome
it's
everyone
7:30, this
tonight.
meeting is over.
Oh, no, 7:30 Eastern for me, Tom. Welcome
Okay.
everyone and introduce our host, Dr. Tom Parish, the guru of research and a good friend, support system. He's just been a treasure for us in the William Glasser Institute, along with his wife, Jocelyn Parish. Tremendous researcher, so he's here to teach us tonight. I welcome everyone. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat or raise your hand. That's enabled, and I'll try to catch you and help. But I turned it over to Tom, and he's going to start.
You got to turn it back to me.
Yes, I already gave, you already are the co-host, so go for it, Tom.
All right, we'll see what we can do. I'm not getting anything.
No, I think you hit the wrong button. You need to go back to the your desktop that shows the handouts. And if you need, I can put them up. They're not on there. So you need to X out of that one.
I've got to X out of this one.
Yep.
This one too?
That one, I believe so. There. Now go down to because you had it on your share screen, and then you have your handouts up. There. Did I do it or did you do it?
See what you can do.
There.
Mine's
It's
not
up.
working.
I think it's up. Can everybody see it?
Can you see it?
I'm not hearing anything.
No.
No? Okay,
There we
hold on.
go.
Okay.
Nice mountain view.
Now, it's a
Well,
nice
that's
mountain,
not
but that's
one.
not it, Tom.
All right.
I thought maybe we were going to do some mindfulness or something.
That's it too. Let's see what I can do. This will stop. Do you want me to put it up, Tom?
Sure.
Okay, let me do that. There. And share. There you go.
You're gonna go to the club?
Hi,
All right,
Mike.
there it is.
There you go.
All right, we're going to walk right through this. Why people publish and or present research. Now, what's emphasized there? What is emphasized? The
Why?
why. Now, understand that why is very important, because why people do research is pretty much determined by the way they're thinking. I'm going to go through a whole number of points. Number one, they wish to roll back ignorance while contributing to others' knowledge and understanding. All right, so it could be that you're into trying to roll back your own ignorance, and you're also trying to increase others' knowledge and understanding. Does anybody know the 3 levels of moral development? Level 1, pre-conventional, concern for me. Level 2, conventional, concern for a few people, very special. Level 3, post-conventional, you're concerned for everyone. A person that's at number 1, they wish to roll back ignorance for themselves. All right, that would be level 1. But they also want to do it for others, for their knowledge and understanding. That's great. If people are doing research for that reason, how happy would they be? They would be so happy. Would they be willing to do research without having their names on the research? Because they're getting, their ignorance is being resolved and their knowledge for others and understanding for others is improved. That should be a tremendous reward, because we're helping a lot of people. Unfortunately, not many of us are concerned about level 3, concern for everyone. Let's go down to number 2. They are gratified by editors' acceptance letters. Now, how many of you have had, you can say yes. How many have had acceptance letters that you go, boy, that was a great acceptance letter? Anybody ever have any of those? Say yes. Okay? They're so cool. But what do they satisfy? They satisfy only you, nobody else. Level one. Number three, they appreciate students' collegial respect. When the students when I've published some articles in certain journals, I've had people come down to my office and say things about having gotten into that particular journal. Those kudos are really kind of nice, but they're locked on a level one type of credit. Why? Am I doing it just for their satisfaction and for them to come down and talk to me? If that's the case, that's a level one. Number four, they benefit from broad readership appeal, journal readership, library resources. If your work is out there, even in books like, okay, this is the Compendium of Articles, 1981 to 1993 for the Journal of Reality Therapy. Have any of you got a copy of this? Anybody? You're kidding. This is a great book. Larry Lidwack was the editor, and he put it together and put an awful lot of good articles in there. And if your article is in there, that's great. If your articles are cited in there, that's great, because people are getting exposure. But once again, that's a level one world development. Number five, they find secondary citations in other sources. Have you ever gone through books? And of course, usually you might turn to the back to see if you're cited. That's a kick. All right, that's a reason for doing research. They more often receive scholarships, assistantships, fellowships. Plus, once they graduate, they're much more likely to move up faster in terms of salary and rank. Now, once again, that's a level one. Why is this a level one, not a level two, not a level three? Who can answer that? Why is that a level one?
Those benefits are all for the individual.
Everything is for the individual. Now, if it's for two, what are you trying to do?
You're trying to, is it seek, maybe it's approval, help others?
That would be it. It's not for you. It's for the team. The team is very important with level two, or the family, or the unit, whatever it is. You've got a certain particular group of people that how many have heard of people sacrificing their own lives to save others? Okay, a small group of people, but someone threw themselves on the grenade in order to save others. That is actually level two, because you're saving that small group of people, and that's very important to you. So that why people publish, what is important to you with regard to publishing? Well, you got to know what is it that why you as people think publishing is important or presenting is important. The next one, they are often invited to consult and present, which could be very beneficial. They are often invited to consult or to present. Someone's moving my screen on me. Okay, good enough. So what's that all about? This is cool. Now this could be a one, but it could be even had an opportunity. A fellow called me up, read an article of mine in the Journal of Reality Therapy back in the 90s. And he invited me to come up to Newfoundland and to give a 2-day presentation. And now this is so cool. It was a school. And they said, how much do you charge? Anybody want to tell me what I told them? This is incredibly cool. I told them, well, how much have you set aside for the event? So who is going to have to come up with the number? They had to. What do you think he came up with? $6,000. I said, I think I can do it for that. Now, what am I very glad that I didn't say when he said, how much do you charge?
2,000.
I could have said 2,000 and I would have been perfectly happy. But it dawned on me, how much have they set aside for the event? He said 6,000 and that's what I got a check for. That is what I would call very satisfied. Now, the next one, they receive royalties from books, chapters, editorships, inventions, tests, and more. There have been professors, even ones that I've had at the University of Illinois, their salary at the University of Illinois paid their taxes that they accrued on their books. Can you imagine their University of Illinois salaries simply covered their taxes? So how was their publishing doing? Doing quite well, thank you. Okay, number 9, over time, they may receive many more listings in the Social Science Citation Index. Now, who knows what that is? Social Science Citation Index. Anybody raise your hands. Have you used it? Have you used the Social Science Citation Index? It is quite a nifty source. It's in almost every university library in the United States, and it comes out every year. And you go there and you check, and for example, let's say that something that Bill Glasser wrote back in 91. You go to 91 and you look up William Glasser, and it tells you in that year that you're looking it up, let's say it's now 2023, you're looking up this source and this reference, and here are all the articles that have been cited this year from 1991 as a reference. How important is this reference to you? If you've got one source and you can go to that source over, now let's say it came out in 91 and now it's 2023, how many volumes are there with that source listed 91 all the way through to 2023? And you had the opportunity to look at everybody that has cited Bill's book or Bill's article. He didn't write many articles, he wrote mostly books. But the thing is that if someone cited his book, it is cited in the Social Science Citation Index. Why is that incredibly cool? We're talking, why should we do research? What about, wouldn't it be important if you could do it easily? How many of you sat down now, when I was an undergraduate, psych abstracts were really big. And I would go to the library and I would read and read and read and read and read and read. So with Social Science Citation Index, I can find out everybody that has cited Bill's book from 1991 since then. Now, how long does it take me to find all that information? Wesley, what do you think? How long? There are about 25 volumes that are sitting there on the shelf. I can go through those 25 volumes in probably an hour and a half. And with the association with the use of a copy machine, what could I have? With that 1991 article, and I do all the issues that have been published since 1991, I could have all of the research that has cited that book. Now, if I'm defending a dissertation and it's predicated upon the idea that Bill generated in 1991, how long would it have taken me to find out all of the stuff that Bill did in this 1991? How many people cited his work without Social Science Citation Index? It would take me
Weeks, months.
months. It would take me months. With Social Science Citation Index, what's happening?
Just give me a quick reference.
I can go through that so quickly and I can see what, what they're about, what have you, those articles. And I can make a decision in a matter of a couple of seconds. Do I want to spend time reading that article, reading that book, etc.? So that's very important. All right. Now I have on here, especially if it's psychological inventories. Why are psychological inventories so neat with regard to the Social Science Citation Index? Why is for the use of psychological inventories? Why would that be so important? Has anyone ever read Educational Measurement? Psychological and Educational Measurement. Anybody ever read that? Well, I have. It's loaded with techie articles for people into measurement. Now, if you've got something that's in there and it's picked up, it surely would be picked up by the Social Science Citation Index. This is a measurement that could be very important to you. If you think it's important, what will this book come up with? This is so cool. What will this book come up with? What will the Social Science Citation Index come up with? Let's say Wesley created a psychological instrument, and he created it in the year 2010. How long will it take somebody to find out everybody that has cited Wesley's research article and inventory? It's only about 13 years now. So 13 pages, about a dime a page, $1.30, and we've got everything covered. Instruments, if you have created psychological instruments, that is a Social Science Citation Index is a wonderful source because it'll pick up everybody that has used that instrument since its creation. Does everybody see the value? Huge. Okay. They are also more likely to be offered. Now, these, once again, the people that have had these advantages of doing research and what have you, more likely to have better offers, career choice wise, especially over time. Why? Why would they have better offers, more money, better opportunities? If you are in tune, has anybody ever read or looked at graduate programs in psychology? The source, graduate programs in psychology. I've got to tell you, if you have any advisees that you're dealing with, and they're going into psychology possibly, graduate programs in psychology, has anybody used it? Raise your hand. Anybody used it? Oh, okay. I happen to love this incredibly because it has every state in the United States, every university in that state, and then it has within each university the different programs that are being offered. Now, that's not enough. They then go into how many people apply, how many people are accepted, how many people attend. Now, do you begin to get the picture of what you might be able to pick up? You can know how many people applied, you know how many people were accepted. Now, for example, the University of Illinois had 1,300 when I was the credentials analyst for the University of Illinois in psychology. I was the person that was in charge of determining if people were going to be able to get into the program. We had 1,300 people apply. We had 39 get accepted. How many actually chose? Now, wait a minute. How big of a difference is that from 1,300 to 39? Huge. What happened to everybody else? They went someplace. They didn't go to the University of Illinois. Now, there's even more information among those 39 that had accepted. What if they didn't show up? Everything was set up for them to be able to be there, but they didn't show up. What does that give the University of Illinois? Money on their hands that they can't get rid of unless they find somebody else to come in. How can you use that information? Stephen, do you have any ideas? How can you use that information? Your mic's not on.
I got a lot of kids and dogs running around my house, so I'm trying to save you.
Okay,
You can use that for your own research and your own publications.
well, I'm not worried about that because that's in another jar. That money is sitting there for people who are willing to stop off and visit the programs in May and in July. Why May and July?
Beats me.
Oh, this is incredible.
That's when they need to fill the seats.
That's when you start, the rubber begins to meet the road and you are on tap to have people in place. If they've got seats empty, they've lost the opportunity to get money back from the state as well as from the students. So the scholarship money aside, the state contribution and the student contribution is also lost. So if you know that this school has so many people that didn't show up, you could show up in May or July, August, and take advantage. Now, who do you know of that's taken advantage of these programs like I'm suggesting? I walked in, it was May of 68, May of 68. I walked into a program at Illinois State University, and I told them that I had my material with me, and they accepted me before I left the school, before I left the administration building that day. Now, for my doctorate in 69, I went into the University of Illinois. I was just stopping by. I met the department chair. I told him about myself, and he said, if you can get all of your material on my desk within 48 hours, I'll not only get you into the program, I'll have an assistantship for you. Now tell me what I just gave you. Why was this meeting tonight important to you? Because you picked up information that you could use to share with who? How many can think of people right now that are thinking about going into a master's degree or a doctorate in the psychology, counseling, etc.? And this type of information could be invaluable. That's why we do research, so that we can find out what we need to do in order to be successful. And these successful people wind up making more money, might wind up moving up the scale faster because they become aware of the system and how it works. Okay, others will more frequently seek them out as co-authors or co-contributors in other endeavors. I had a fellow by the name of J.R. Necessary, and he called me up one day. His name really was J.R. Necessary. He called me up and he said, I would like to make a proposition with you. I've been reading your research. I'd like to work with you. Are you game? What did I say? I said, let's do it. He was at Ball State University in Indiana. I was at Kansas State University in Kansas. We had 25 papers published and presented together in a matter of just a couple of years. Many of those papers that we published and presented, we hadn't even met each other yet. What got us together? He picked up the phone, he called me up and he said, I've seen some of your research, your writings, etc. I would like to work with you. I agreed, and we were off to the races. Does this make sense? Is that important? I had a professor at the Oklahoma State University, a professor down there that I shared a room with. And I said I was submitting a paper, actual symposium, and I was inviting a very prestigious professor to present with me. And my friend Dick said, he'll never come. Forget it. You're wasting your time. I continued. I followed through. I sent all of my materials. And the story went like this. This is kind of cool. I told Arthur Statz was his name. I said, Arthur, I'll be at my in-laws' house for Christmas. If you're interested in my idea, let me know and we'll get together. While I was at my mother-in-law's that Christmas, this big box came in. And Arthur, I just love this, because if you have an idea and you're willing to use it, to share it, to offer it, you can make things happen that person has said, it won't happen, it'll never happen. Well, of course it won't happen because Dick wasn't going to do it, but I was inclined to do it. And that was the key. Finding somebody that will, and I offered Arthur an opportunity. He said, count me in. And I have two other friends that I really like to get to be with. And we'll meet. We had 650 at the presentation in New York City. And he flew there from Hawaii in order to make the presentation with us. How did it happen? What have every one of you heard tonight about how did it happen that made a difference? For whom? Did it make a difference for me? Absolutely. Did it make a difference for Arthur Statz?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The things that I'm sharing with you, if you have ideas and you can think about the people who would most be interested in doing something in this particular area, and you come up with 4 or 5 names, maybe 10 or 12. Even if 2 or 3 or 5 say no, you can get a half a dozen people to say yes, and it'll be outstanding. I've done this routinely in my life, writing to people, calling people, and offering them an opportunity to get involved in a presentation at the Society for Research and Child Development one year. And I mean, AERA, I had several of them, American Educational Research Association. Now, why is this cool? Why is this cool? Because who out there could take advantage of what I'm offering you tonight? Who could take advantage? Can you not see? If you have an idea and you think it's a really good idea, and you know some people that could be really interested in that idea with you, are you going to be able to achieve what you hope to achieve? And the answer is, what did my notebook say? May 2023 be as great as it can be. Who's in charge of making it great? I am. Do you want to make it great? Others will more likely seek you out as co-contributors or in other endeavors like JR Necessary, by them offering you or you offering them opportunities to present together. Now this is cool. If you have some background in stat or research methods, you'll find that there's an awful lot of opportunities out there that you couldn't possibly imagine. And school psych people usually don't have stat and usually don't have research methods. And when I've gone to the NASP meetings, I have found that they are very receptive to accepting presentations that people submit, even if they're not school psychologists. Who can tell me why? They've got money to go to professional meetings.
Huh.
But they don't have research because they don't even know how to do it. So and this is one of those, Ron Rosenblatt was his name. He was a co-author with one of my papers. And I was busy presenting someplace. So Ron got the call to go to San Diego and present the paper that we had at San Diego at NASP that year. How many people were at the NASP meeting at the presentation? How many people would you guess? We took 30 copies of our paper. There were 600 people in the room waiting.
Wow.
Do you understand what I'm talking about? If you can figure out how to connect with people that want that information, but don't know how to collect it themselves, this is critical. And those people, maybe you're not a school psychologist, but maybe you've got research that a school psychologist would be interested in having. I've published more than 100 articles on the impact of parent loss on children, for example. Do you think those articles would be, those topics would be interesting at a school psych convention? Absolutely. So you have to figure out, what do you have that they will enjoy, and how do you get together and make it happen? Okay, any other questions?
So
Sure.
Tom, can I interject here? Because sometimes I think we get concerned that we're not the best research person. We don't do statistics real well. And I've had people come and say, they love to do statistics. If anyone wants to help in that area, they partner with them. So if you have your idea at this point, don't be put off by the other part that you're not good at, because somebody else will be good at it and would love to share that with you. So please, if you have your idea and you've got some things going, get with us and we'll see if we can partner with you with someone that likes to do the other part. And it usually works out well. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I know I've had that happen, so I wanted to mention it.
Two things, and Janet, you're absolutely right, and you're right on the money, because if people could just find somebody to help them get through the statistics, they'd be there and they'd be willing to make a presentation with you. So, but what's really funny is that the statistician may not have a content area that they can really write about. I could mention her name. She was a wonderful statistician, but she never got her doctorate. Why not? She did not know how to develop ideas. And so for her, she needed somebody to work with her. She had the stat background. She needed somebody that had a background that she could use and that they could work together. Now, what did I tell you about J.R. Necessary? Believe it or not, at Ball State University in the school paper, there was an article about J.R. Necessary and yours truly, and how we had worked together for so many years, getting this research done and what have you. There are people wanting to know about how to do it. And the thing is that there are very few people that really have that type of information. Now, I have a couple of other points. These are some other do's. Honoring reprint requests. This is not on this form, but you can write this down. Honoring reprint requests. Now, how important, have any of you ever received a reprint request? Never? No, that's too bad. I had a professor that was at K-State with me, and he took these reprint requests, which we got almost all the time, and he would take his reprint requests, toss them in the trash, and he'd say, I'm not going to spend my 13 cents, that's how much it was back then, 13 cents on a stamp to send him my material. He can go to copy it himself. Short-sighted, or was he well-visioned? What do you think?
Short-sighted.
Short-sighted.
Terribly, terribly short-sighted. Now, let me explain. I got a request once from this person, and he asked for one thing. I sent him back the thing that he asked for, plus all the other papers that I had presented, not published, but presented, because they hadn't gotten out there yet. And so I sent those other papers, the summary of the other papers back with the paper that he requested. What did he do with the summary that I sent him back? He checked off 2 and he said, would you kindly send me these 2 articles, these 2 papers? What happened to those 2 papers? Can anybody tell me? The guy happened to be the editor of Phi Delta Kappa. And he put both of those papers in the Phi Delta Kappa, which has a 95% rejection rate. How did I do it? By honoring a reprint request. I had a professor. Now, I love doing these things with faculty, with students, etc. I asked this professor to come and help me present this material on publishing and presenting and what have you. And she was really good at writing books. And she said, I won't do it. And I said, you won't do it? Why won't you? Who can tell me why? Her reason for not doing it is it took her 30 years to get that information, and she wasn't going to give it away. Now, I don't mind telling you, I have never had that attitude in my entire life. I have been giving away my material for years, and I love doing it. Why? Because if I get somebody turned on, and I've gotten several turned on, they will go out and they will do what I have done and do it for others. And that's what education, true education, is all about. Now, are we concerned about level 1, level 2, or level 3 here? We're talking level 3. If I can be sharing stuff with people and they can turn around and share with other people. Og Mandino wrote a book once, and in it he said, you have to try to impact 100 people a day. Greatest salesman in the world. You have to try to impact 100 people a day. Well, at that point, at K-State, I had 4 classes, undergraduate in human development, with 85 students in each class. It's 340 students. And I was not meeting with all of them every day, but it was 340 students that I was working with every week, every semester. And you know what I would do at the end of every Friday class period? I would ask them, what did you learn this week that you thought would be of interest to you, might be able to help you 5 years from now, help you to become a more effective person, partner, parent, etc. Now, guess what I got going from those questions? I would say, all right, now tell me what you think. And students would raise their hands and they would say, this is what I learned. This is what and they were raising their hands. How many people were teaching those students? I was, and so was everybody that was raising a hand. Do you understand that they were reinforcing my message? They were saying this was important to them. They were willing to stand up in front of 84 other students and say, this is what I learned, and this is why I'm glad I've got it. What I'm sharing with you tonight is very much like that. Consider, well, there are some don'ts. I got to tell you about some don'ts. Never claim a first authorship unless you truly earned it. And if you're, I had a friend that walked in and saw this dissertation on the shelf, and he said, have you written that up for publication? And the guy said, no, I haven't. He said, do you mind if I do? And the guy actually took his dissertation and he wrote it up. Who was the first author on the publication? Stephen, what do you think?
The first author was, would it have been Bill Glasser?
No. Here was this guy, his name was Paul, and he'd written a dissertation and he got his degree and the dissertation went up on top of his shelf.
Well, then
This-
he should have been the author if he wrote
He
it.
should have been the first author. Absolutely. APA even says they must be the first author. If they were the person that had the thesis or the dissertation, the student that did the dissertation or the thesis should be first author. And I've had this guy take this dissertation from Paul and publish it with his name first. I won't even mention his name, but it's just.
How is that? That's got to be unethical or illegal.
Well, and he's done it many times to many people. And I find it unfortunate because this is under don'ts. Never claim a first authorship unless you truly earned it. And if you're dealing with somebody's thesis or dissertation, you are in hot water. All authorships are intellectual property, and plagiarism is a major crime, especially in academics. I've known people that actually had their PhDs rescinded because they plagiarized on their dissertation.
Well, how did this fellow get away with putting himself as a first author for something he didn't write? How does he get away with that?
I have no idea, but he happens to be a department chair of an ed psych department in a major university in the United States. So, I mean, he has cheated me several times, and I go, he takes friendship way too far. But at any rate, ethics, there has to be a concern for what is right. And first authorships with regard to thesis and dissertation, the student has to be the first author.
Anyway, Tom, let me stop that. Let me ask you a question there. So, or make a statement. So I know that as a, doctoral student, we get done with our dissertation and it gets put up on the shelf, like you said. We're so excited that we're done and we've defended and it's all done. We forget that we need to publish it. So that's very important. Just because it's up on the shelf and we've defended it at the place that we've gotten the work done, we still have to publish it. And there is a difference between putting it on the shelf and publishing. So that's important. So we need to encourage that.
Okay, now here's how I do that. With regard to the students that I have chaired, I have them put in the appendix in the back of the dissertation, the 10 to 15 page article ready for submission, so that if he or she passes the orals, they could take that, put it in an envelope, and mail it off to the journal of their choice that day. What did I do by having that student do that?
You just published it, or you made it property, right? It was.
I would say you lowered the barrier to entry. You bundled that into the work to do with the orals, so it was easier to hit the next hurdle.
And you see,
Copyright.
well, that's important, but understand with regard to what we're just talking about here, by them having that done, the dissertation is usually a god-awful experience. Never want to think about it. I don't want to even look at that dissertation. I mean, what can I say? But the thing is that if you can get by that, and the way that I did it with students was I would have them include in the appendix, the appendices, that 10 to 15 page paper. And then they had that ready to go. And they had that good experience writing that 10 to 15 page paper and sending it off and having it. I mean, that is so great. I've just lit his fire or hers. And that's what I love to do. I love to find people, show them the easier way to get into graduate school, show them the easier way to do a dissertation, show them an easier way. And with regard to the things that we talked about with regard to going to a source and being able to get in an hour and 15 minutes, all sorts of great stuff. The easier way should be the way that we teach students so that they will be what? Excited about it. Let them get going and help them. The woman that said to me, I won't give my stuff away because it took me 30 years to learn it. Are you kidding? I've spent my entire life learning this and I'm still giving it away. And you know what? I have never regretted it. I love helping people, and I have gotten a lot of different experiences that has helped me to. I was even the credentials analyst at the University of Illinois the first year I was there, and I picked up all sorts of information that I could help people to get by, various different, legal ways to do it. How many items are there on the Miller's Analogies test? Anybody know? There's 100. And how do they consider the score? How many right? How many right?
Oh, well,
No.
if it's a programmatic thing, they would have one right answer. So, yeah.
And the thing is that if they left half the test blank, which many of them do, what's that score?
Well, max of 50, but it's how many
Max
right
of
answers out
50.
of the
Yeah. So never mind. I don't want to make the obvious, but they should understand that if you can't even get the time to read the item, guess. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's probably on the far end where it's not just trying to assess something, but on the far end of performing well, which makes it closer to an achievement test, which then means normalizing what is typical and what's a standard deviation. And so they want to make it inordinately difficult because some people may get 15 done, some may get 50, some may get 60. And that's their approach. Like of the people that are completing 40, 50, 60, how are they doing? And it's like, okay, but this is also kind of why LSATs and GMATs and MCATs are I actually a lot of places are doing away with them because they're not as predictive as they once thought, and there's a whole classism behind them. It's like I need to spend how much time and effort to do this thing to prove I can do the thing I already proved I could do anyway.
But understand, if you can help somebody to get into graduate school, if you can help somebody to find that first job, if you can find, if you can provide that type of information, what are you? You're invaluable.
Yeah.
You're invaluable. And I'm offering you this tonight, hoping that you'll do well with it.
Pass it on and do some research.
Pass it on so that you can do research, you can get into graduate school, there are all sorts of things you can do. All you have to do is try. And I'm serious, the number of presentations and publications I have is pretty substantial. And the only thing that I can say is that I tried. And I invite you to try as well. Okay, that's my presentation. You give me any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Open the floor. Yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
Sorry for arriving late. I was just finally able to get my son down. So I can't remember how frequently these happen, but I remember the last one that I attended was similar in tone, which is good that you can lead this, Tom. I get the sense that there's probably more content or agenda items, or maybe this is now kind of like the premise of this group. Do we have a direction already, or are we kind of like filling you know, who wants to do the next one? Who wants to do the next one?
No, I've got the next one too. I
Okay,
designated the lucky one.
Is-
And what we're going to be talking about on April 19th
okay.
at 6:30. And Janet was supposed to, but that's okay. On the 19th, 6:30, I will give you information on, this is some great information on scale development and how to have a very good, valid, and reliable scale. And they will all be,
The validity of
Believe it or
psychometrics, good.
they'll be psychometric. Well, they'll not only, they're going to be at the top end. They're going to be ratio type scales.
Yeah, good.
You know what a ratio type scale is?
Yeah, we've done enough.
Interval
stuff.
is where everything is interval distance from one another.
Yes,
Ratio is interval with an absolute zero. All the scales that I've created that I'll be telling you about will be interval scales with an absolute zero. That's
Okay.
ratio.
Yeah.
And that's what, I'm not going to be talking about.
why do you think that's superior to a, you know, a continuous quantitative variable that isn't like levelized to zero? Why is that
Come back.
inherently?
Come back on April 19th and I'll answer that question.
I'm gonna bust your chops, Tom. You better come.
Oh,
with
that's
some good
okay.
answers.
I do, believe me. I've had some of the very best try to find fault and they couldn't. Okay. Next question. I'd
Just
love
a
to-
comment. Let me comment something on number 9, the social science citation. I believe that was purchased by a company. And so it might be, you'll have to Google the word social science citation and it will come up as a different, I think,
You changed it?
identifier.
Okay. That's something I'm not aware of, so that, but
I know, it was really interesting when I looked it up. So I just want to make everyone aware that
Okay.
don't get worried. It's just privately owned now. So it's put under a couple of different headings. It's very interesting, but yeah, I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
And also
Thank
let me reiterate about April 19th. It's 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. So you know, time, just the time frame can be sure. Same code to get on for Zoom and same password. So no worries about that. And Tom will have handouts available, so it'll go out. Bobby, did you get this in your email? An
So
alert
good
saying
question.
that it would
I
be
didn't
on?
get it in mine directly. I got it from I'm here in New Brunswick, Canada. I got it from Maureen McIntosh, who's like, hey, you've been to this
Okay,
before. You're
super.
clearly a research dude. You should be going to this. Okay, I will.
Yep, good. Okay, good. So point being, that should come up again in that. And the handouts are attached. So I don't know if you got those either this time.
Yeah, and I
So
did get
they
the link to the PDF, so I have that
Okay,
here. Yeah.
super.
Is
Okay.
there a place you want me to sign up, or is there someone I should email just to make sure I'm on the proper list as opposed to just a relay?
Ask Maureen how to do that, because that you should be getting that directly. That should be
Okay.
good information for you. And
Yeah,
are you part of the William Glasser organization? Let me ask you that. Yeah, okay, so you should be getting this, should be coming. So this is.
So
we
I
offer this
mean, I'd be under
through-
Glasser Canada, but yeah.
Okay, so members of
We're all one big
William
family.
Glasser International
Hmm.
are one big family, and this is through the research committee. We offer this, and this year I think there's 3 symposiums, so we'll have one more in April, and next year we'll be doing maybe more, maybe less. We've done a lot before, and this time we did just a few. So we'll see about next year. But please get involved. If you want to belong to the research committee, it would be wonderful. I invite anyone that wants to join us, because they're very involved people, intelligent. I love working with them. They're just fantastic. So it might be something you enjoy. And we have, usually those meetings are the last Friday of the month.
I'm just
Unless
seeing
it's
them right
unless
now.
there's a holiday. Yeah, unless there's a
Mhm.
holiday. But all the dates are listed on the website,
it right here.
yeah, listed and for the year. So join us in the time is on a Friday, usually in the daytime.
You
So-
can do that.
That's it. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Tom?
One thing I want you to remember, if you're submitting papers, by all means, write your paper for presentation first. Do not write the one for publication until after you get feedback from your presentation. Does that make sense? If
Sure,
you
good
submit
idea.
your paper for publication first, then you can't present it. It's actually considered inappropriate to submit it for presentation after you've gotten published. Supposedly a wider sphere of people have already seen it, so you can't present it. But you can present it first, publish it second. Or if you're trying to do presentation, publication, what could you do?
So
If
one,
someone-
one tactic they use at some of the conferences is they will have, so some conferences will be, and I'm trying to think of the proper term for this, but it's like registered that you properly kind of publish there for a full complete one. So a lot of them have this kind of half version, and maybe they call them something like working papers where they're not noted there. And those are particularly intended to like share your half-baked ideas, get feedback from other people and improve them. So I got a chance to do one even just a couple months ago, and it was like kind of like ethics and sustainability related. It had kind of a qualitative kind of inclusionist spin on it. And it was in the management domain. Anyway, so I was super glad to get that feedback on a much more seasoned sense making person. But I mean, I knew I was half baked coming into it, and then with a bunch of expert feedback, it's like, oh yes, of course, now I know where to go with this. And yeah, it was very helpful.
And I would suggest, Bobby, that when you do this in the future, you have the session taped for you.
Oh, that's a good point.
Oh, yes, because then afterwards, you have all the information that was gathered there that was shared with you on tape, and hot diggity. See, there's another idea. If you do that, you win. That's all there is to it. If you do it, you win. With regard to other things, this is the compendium of articles. I mentioned this earlier. This has about 70 articles in it. Each of those articles were published someplace else.
Yeah.
I was able to publish 2 in here. How did that happen?
Well, I mean, so compendiums and things like that are meant to pull together a bunch of knowledge into one place as an efficient primer for not just new people, but just like efficiently summarizing if you want to know what the hell's going on.
Right. Well, but once again, it's a second source. The article that you published, the presentation that you've made, that's in the rearview mirror. If there are books like this coming out and you have the opportunity to crack them, to get into them, I was fortunate enough to get 2 articles published in this. I thought it was great, and it's been really helpful for people picking up my doing what I'm doing, because it's right here. So if you can get more publication mileage out of your material by presentation, publication, and then now if you get it published here, you have to get a letter from the publisher that says it's all right to publish it in this compendium.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? I've got much more to give you, but I'll call it quits for tonight. Unless you have any questions. Comments?
Chandria, do I see you wanting to ask a question? You'll have to unmute yours, please. Just a second, Bobby.
No, I'm okay. I'm just
Okay.
taking everything in right now. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
All right, Bobby.
I spin me more of the choice theory side of things, and so well, I think this choice theory is, I don't know, it's I mean, I guess obviously we know that's the implicit focus here. Is there anything else that I don't know, like theoretically binds us and that's
Bobby, you were breaking up and I didn't
maybe,
get the gist of what you were asking. Could you try one more time?
the, is there a common theory basis we're all coming from? Is this all applied research and that it's all like practitioner oriented around choice theory? Is there
We are
What-
working really hard, Bobby. We are working very hard to develop a research core,
okay,
but we are practitioners primarily. We
okay,
are
yeah,
people that operate in the classroom. We're people that operate in settings like community centers, et cetera. That's true. But nevertheless, in fact, in the last issue, we had a really good publication that came from overseas.
Okay.
That showed how much this can be applied in the classroom and be done so in a valid and reliable way.
Yeah.
Quite a good article. You might be able to find it there. Anybody else?
Well, thank you everyone for joining us.
And
Okay,
Tom,
I'll
thank
stay
you for
around.
sharing some of the tricks of
Yeah,
the trade
Tom.
with us.
You're amazing. I know. Thank you. We appreciate you. And
My
so,
mind is a magnet for information. So
and this is recorded and we'll probably put it on the William Gloucester International website so that you can view at your pleasure again. Thank you
and
so
tell
much for
others
everyone.
that it's there.
Hey,
Tell others.
yes,
Remember,
yes,
the
welcome.
secret. Pass it on.
Pass it on. April 19th. We'll see you. And then there's the research meeting at the end of the month. So love to see you there too. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. You have a nice
Right.
evening. Thanks. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.
yeah.
Good night.